Hello, my name's Jo Marklow and I'm a senior consultant with BCL Legal. I specifically deal with legal executives and paralegals in Manchester and in Lancashire. And what I wanted to talk to you today about was how to prepare a good CV. Obviously everybody knows that the start of the process is your CV, so therefore you really do need to be prepared and make sure that document is great before it goes into the hands of anybody else other than yourself that might be reading it. They say that on average about 30 seconds is spent actually scanning the CV initially. Therefore you need to make sure that that document allows that person to engage with you straight away and makes them want to actually read the rest of the information in that document. Especially in the paralegal market in Manchester at the moment, it's really busy, really competitive, and for every one job we may get 30 or 40 candidates all applying for that, so therefore you really do need to make sure that your CV stands out. The first thing I think that we note really, especially dealing with paralegals and legal executives, is sort of the variety that we see coming through in terms of how people put together the CVs, the colours that they use, the fonts that they use, and it really does vary. What I would always say is aim to be quite plain and quite simple with that. So a white sheet of paper with black font, Arial size 10, and nothing too fancy, no red headings or massive italics, just keep it really plain. It may also be worth noting the length of your CV. Now obviously this is quite subjective in that everybody's CV is going to be different because everybody's experience is different, but really what you need to be doing is, in an ideal world, if it's somebody with about maybe 12 to 18 months experience, normally sort of 2 to 3 sides of A4 should do it. Really what you're aiming for is the information to be really precise and really condensed, so you don't really need to be talking about sort of, travelling holidays that you did at university, or all of the summer jobs that you've had that might take up half a page. A partner would much rather see the information there, be able to read it, see it clearly, and make a decision on whether he wants to take it to the next stage. Next thing to note really is accuracy. One thing that does drive us all insane that we see a lot of is the amount of mistakes that we see in CVs. Now, one thing that really is annoying, and I think that you would all agree that if you were a partner looking at a CV, you don't want to see it littered with mistakes, whether they be something grammatical or even sort of halfway through you change tense. Read it through before you press send. Get a fresh pair of eyes to read it. Get your mum, your dad, a friend, a colleague, or even ring BCL Legal and ask for one of the consultants to read through it first. It's not worth sending it being mistakes. Some partners do not take kindly to this and will just bin the CV no matter what's written in it. They see the mistakes and they don't want to know, so you do really need to be careful with that. When you get down to the content of your CV and what you need to put in it, I always think it's always a good idea to bullet point your experience. So if you're a paralegal and you're handling your own caseload, say so. So be precise. How many files are you handling? What is the split of the caseload? So if you're an ELPL paralegal and that's what you do, but you do a little bit of RTA, bullet point it, be really, really clear on it. Don't forget that for the firms that you're going to be applying to, the partner is not going to be the first person to read this CV. So it might be a secretary or it might be somebody in HR who doesn't understand what an ELPL file is, or hasn't got the technical background, so will just not understand what you're saying, and therefore your CV is not going to get through because they haven't read the rest of the information. If you draft certain documents or you do any advocacy, put it down. You'd be amazed at the amount of CVs that we see that just say, I'm a paralegal and I handle 250 PI files. Doesn't really tell me much, let alone somebody who doesn't really understand what they're doing. So if it's PI, state what is it? Is it ELPL? Is it credit hire? Is it RTA? Is it litigation? Keep it really to the point. One of the other things that you can cut out of CVs that we see a lot of is things that are more generic. So any explanations about maybe the kind of person that you are, just take it out. To a certain extent, it's not really needed. The last thing that we normally see in a CV is the interest part, which you'll be amazed at the variety that we actually do see. So a lot of the time we get shopping, socialising, going to the pub, watching the football. They're not really interests, are they? These are things that you do on a Saturday or a Sunday. They're not interests per se, so take them out. Anything interesting in the interest, so if you sit on any committees or chair anything while you've been at university, just pop that in there. If you enjoy running or rock climbing or whatever it might be, these are all things that it gives a partner the opportunity to build some rapport with you during interview. The last thing is, don't embellish your CV. When you're going into an interview based on what you've written in your CV. So if you're writing in your CV that you handle cases, you're going to be asked technical questions which relate specifically to what you've written. So don't expose yourself to embarrassment at interview. If you haven't done it, don't write it down. If you've only got a little bit of experience doing it, just write down some brief exposure to. Don't say you can handle 250 files. You'll be amazed at the amount of people that do go to interview and they will just not get through based on the fact that the information isn't correct. And do take along as well a copy of your CV to interview. Pop it in a nice folder, take 2 copies, and then if it is that a partner's running from court into interview, you can hand him a copy on arrival. It just makes you look professional, and it makes sure that you can read through it along with the partner or the solicitor interviewing you at interview. Don't forget, if you do have any queries on your CV or how to go about applying for roles, do pick up the phone and speak to one of us. We do have specific consultants that deal with paralegal and legal executive recruitment, and we do place hundreds of paralegals, most of the time, which is the first role or second role, which is massively important, and therefore we do have quite a good grasp in terms of what partners are looking for and the best way in which to apply for these roles. So do send us your CV, and if you've got any questions or further queries, do give us a call or do email us.